D&D has a little bit of a problem right now. Player characters are so powerful that the baseline monsters don't stack up. I'm not even talking about min-maxing. Just a Twilight Cleric or an Aberrant Mind Sorcerer. They're all really powerful classes. So, as a GM, we often look for things to spice up our encounters and find little ways that our monsters can be just a little bit better. I have an idea. Let's spice up D&D with one of my other favorite games, Gloomhaven. Hey everybody, my name is Matthew. Welcome to Universal Game Master, a channel that has tips and tricks for players and GMs. Now, with just a tiny little bit of effort, we can make our encounters way better using a mechanic from Gloomhaven and put it right into our D&D games. Now, in Gloomhaven, all of the monsters have stats. They have the attack modifier deck, which is basically the same thing as the dice rolls. However, what we are focusing on is this right here, the monster ability deck. After everyone has decided what they're doing for the turn, you flip over the monster ability deck. For example, during this turn, these monsters are not going to attack. They are simply going to get a buff and gain a little bit of health. The next turn, you flip the deck, and like we see here, they are going to move and they are going to attack, and then they are going to target the character with all of their attacks. Different monster now, different ability deck. During these monsters' turn, we see that they are going to move, and now they gain a multi-attack. Normally, their stats say that they can only target one creature at a time, but now they have a multi-attack because of this card. The next turn, we see that they are applying a buff to all of their allies, and they are debuffing all of the characters. The next turn, having a shield, and they are healing themselves. Because of this mechanic, you can never plan on what the monsters are going to do. You have a little bit of an idea, but it changes. It keeps the combat dynamic because nobody is running the monsters. The monsters are following a more or less artificial intelligence. So, what could this look like for D&D? Well, we already have a dice that we use for the attacks, of course. We have the monster stat block, of course. Now all we need then is some sort of ability card deck. Now, I'm not saying make one of these decks for every single monster. I'm saying use this to spice up an encounter of a boss monster, something that is significant, not just a swarm of zombies or a whole bunch of goblins. You can make this as powerful as you need it to be. Maybe for a lower level, it's just a bonus to AC until the start of its next turn. Maybe you need it to be a larger AC bonus. Heck, maybe it needs to be a even larger bonus. You can add some complicated abilities to it. You can say, Thrill of the Hunt. This turn, gain as much health as the damage dealt. You could say, a Lunging Strike. This turn, all of their attacks have a plus 15-foot reach. You could even say something like, they gain 2 more attacks this turn. That is incredibly potent in making the combat feel fluid and dynamic, because the moment a monster goes from attacking twice in a round to 4 times in a round, that's going to get people's attention. Higher tiers of play almost require some way of beefing up the monsters. If you have a single spellcaster against your party, not only should they have minions, but other effects that can change and really spice up combat will really add a depth to your game. Having the mage on his turn, being able to cast 2 non-damaging spells this turn. Heck, even higher level play, your spellcasters should just be able to cast 2 spells in one turn. A caster that
can't afford to use his action to dispel a bless, maybe get some sort of effect that now he can just break the weave and cause bless to end. And if there are multiple spellcasters in your party, there is a good chance that they are counterspelling the bad guy every turn, in which case you just straight up have a turn that his spells cannot be counterspelled. Of course, it would be broken if a high-level spellcaster had all of his spells be able to not be counterspelled, but if this happens once in a while, you can thematically show how crackling energy coming from his lair is empowering his spellcasting this turn in a way that is twisted, demonic, and even you cannot counterspell his spells. That will lead to some really cool D&D. And of course, this is a great way to beef up the icons of this game, which sometimes can unfortunately fall short from their stat block versus what you kind of expect a dragon to be able to do. A few rounds in, it's the dragon's turn. He flips over a card, a Roar of Resolve. Now he gains advantage on all of his attacks and he gains 20 hit points. Talking about the moment that all of a sudden now the dragon seems to be invigorated with a sprinting movement. Increase their movement, and now everyone's having difficulty attacking them as the dragon is bobbing and weaving as he moves really fast. How many times have you had a dragon go up to the barbarian, take all of his attacks at the barbarian takes barely any damage, and then the cleric just heals the barbarian? Can turn into this, the dragon takes his 3 attacks, the dragon takes his 3 attacks. What would it look like if all of a sudden, during the dragon's turn, they can target all enemies within range? The dragon takes its turn, leaps between all of the characters, and with a few mighty sweeps of its claws and a gnashing of teeth, it has its 3 attacks target all 3 party members. That's cool, that's powerful, and it's necessary for higher level play. If you indeed give these ideas a try, I of course recommend that you tell your players what card is being flipped over. You don't want to confuse them with changes of AC or how many attacks they can do. You don't have to give the cards names, but you can if you'd like to. And also, if you want to, for lower level, you could make it that the cards have some sort of drawback. Maybe if they can attack more times, they attack at disadvantage. Again, I don't recommend doing this for higher tier play because you want your combat to feel dynamic and powerful and epic, and the only way you can do that is by having enemies that can really put up a fight. My final thoughts about why you should use these ability cards along with your monster stat blocks. 1, how many times did I say dynamic in this video? It can really change up and spice up your combat. It can really lead to a lot more interesting stories and cool roleplay as the players just don't know what's going to happen next, because you also don't know what's going to happen next. You also don't know what card is going to come up next. And I feel that the cards getting shuffled up is just a little bit better than trying to have like a recharge ability. It could be too powerful if a spellcaster can cast 2 spells every single turn. But if they can only do this once in a while, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. If it was tied to a recharge ability, then you are going to have to roll and keep track of that recharge every single turn. I just really think that this is an amazing idea, and I'm going to start using it in all of my D&D games for powerful boss monsters. Thank you guys so very much for watching. I really hope that you like this idea as much as I do. If you do, please give this video a like. I hope to come out with a couple more videos that talk about different ways you can spice up and really change combat with some other different ideas that I've got floating around. And if you guys would like to see those videos too, hit the subscribe button. Come on, it's free. I think that's a pretty good deal. But of course, until next time, UGM